The Yankees still haven't let us know who the first baseman is going to be, and Jeff Passan is kind of shocked that they haven't kicked the tires on one guy. We're going to talk about it next on Locked On Yankees.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. With me, as usual, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian.
Stacey, more breaking news, but it wasn't during an afternoon live stream.
Yes. Although I have a feeling we're going to be talking about stuff on tonight's live stream and something will happen early tomorrow. On today's show, we're going to discuss the breaking news. Max Scherzer going to the Blue Jays because, hey, that's an AL East rival. We have to talk about it. We're also going to talk about the Yankees picking up the number 11 international
prospect.
That's it. That's the word. Why was my brain not working there? We're going to talk about that. It's almost the end of the week. I apologize. And first, we're going to talk about Jeff Passan because he's surprised that the Yankees haven't tried to get Alex Bregman. And honestly, I kind of am too.
Yeah, especially when you look at the final offer, apparently. He's turned down, and it's the largest offer apparently he's received. From the Astros, 6 years and $156 million. Now, I don't think this was public news. I think we all kind of assumed the Astros had given him an offer, but we didn't know what it exactly was, and this is the offer that Passan came through with. Apparently, other teams that are still involved, the Blue Jays, Tigers, and Red Sox, some people are apparently now willing to take the Blue Jays money, although all offseason they weren't willing to take the Blue Jays money.
Yeah.
We'll get to that a little later on. But how do you, before we even dive into the kicking the tires on Bregman, Aaron Boone did a WFAN interview the other day, and it was more of a goofy kind of interview, but they did ask him a serious question at one point, and they wanted to basically gauge the interest of, what's going to be going on at third base. And Aaron Boone pretty much gave the indication that it's going to be a open competition in spring training, for lack of a better word, between DJ Oswaldo Cabrera and Oswald Peraza. What's your reaction on that? And we know your reaction on that so far in the offseason, but now that it's this is the first time anyone that's associated or affiliated with the Yankee organization has actually come out and said that publicly. What's your reaction to hearing that publicly?
I'm not surprised because they haven't tried to do anything with regards to third base. They've been linked to people, like there were the Nolan Arenado rumors and other things happening, but I think we all pretty much knew deep down that it was going to be a contest between DJ and Oswald and Oswaldo, the two best friends, which that's a lot of fun for those two kids.
I mean, finally they're getting chances, like a legitimate chance going into the year, and it's not just determined that it's DJ LeMahieu. That probably has more to do with LeMahieu's health than anything else, but still a good sign for those kids. What would bother me more is that apparently the top offer to Alex Bregman was the Astros offer. No one's offered a higher financial offer, and it was 6 years, $156 million. Now, I feel like for a team that's A, in desperate need to win in the Yankees, and B, has the money to spend, and C, has that exact position.
Wait, what do you mean they have money to spend? Because with the way Hal was, complaining the other day, it doesn't seem like they have the money to spend.
Yeah, let's just make a reference. I saw this number earlier today. The Yankees finished last year $200 million north in profit from the second place team last year, who was the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Amazing.
So, yeah, they made a lot of money last year. But $156 million feels like an offer the Yankees could top. Feels like an offer maybe in most years you wouldn't top, but seeing the circumstance they're in and trying to be at it kind of like an arms race with the Dodgers, feels like a year where you would attempt to top that. I'm very surprised the Yankees haven't pulled the trigger. And more to akin to what Passan says, not even that they haven't pulled the trigger. The fact that the Yankees haven't been involved, they haven't kicked the tires, as he said. They haven't even been in discussion with Alex Bregman. That's weird to me because even though this number wasn't public, you got to figure most, MLB GMs knew that this was the number, knew that 156 was the number turned down, knew it was over 6 years. That information gets out in small circles like that. You got to think if that was the number, why would the Yankees not be involved at that price tag?
Is it his age? I mean, that's never stopped them before.
Yeah,
Really.
I mean, it didn't stop him with Fried,
Right.
so I don't think it should. Now, I wouldn't call Bregman. I think he's just maybe the tier below what Max Fried is when it comes to level of stardom or skill at least. But I don't know. To me, it's worth the investment. In a normal year, I'd say no. But to me, it's worth the investment because of the open hole you have at that position. That is
Yeah.
the one position that you have open, and you have a player who's played in October, won in October, hit in October, and not for nothing, Stacey, the Yankees do have a lot of guys on their roster that are not proven in the month of October. I mean, say what you want. I mean, we can, Giancarlo Stanton certainly is not one of those guys. He's certainly proven in the month of October, but is Aaron Judge necessarily proven in the month of October? Has he had big hits in big moments? Not many. Garrett Cole's proven in October. Max Fried hasn't pitched in a lot of playoff games. Carlos Rodon hasn't had a lot of big playoff starts. There's a lot of guys on this roster that are not proven October veteran players. Alex Bregman's one of those guys. So to not kick the tires and bring a guy like that, again, into your clubhouse at a position of need specifically, this isn't a signing that, a rogue shortstop became available. This isn't, I got it more when they weren't in on the Corey Seager stuff because of Anthony Volpe. Now, I didn't agree with it because I wanted Corey Seager, especially at that price, but I understood it because they had a shortstop in the making that was coming up through the pipeline. I got it. Alex Bregman is in a position of need. So it's weird to me that they wouldn't even approach this conversation.
I'm just worried that, as Boone hinted in his interview, that it's likely going to come down between DJ, Oswald, and Oswaldo. And I'm afraid that DJ is going to have one of those spring trainings that's like the last blip on a heart monitor. And they're going to think, oh, he's finally recovered from all his stuff. And then the kids will be cast aside again. Because I'm really worried about Peraza. Peraza, they've jerked him around so much because it was him and Volpe. Why they wouldn't get Seager, why they wouldn't get Correa, why they wouldn't get anyone to be in the shortstop position, because it was between those two and Volpe won out in that position. And I feel like Peraza has been jerked around so much that if they don't find a place for him this year, they need to trade him. They have to give him a chance to play somewhere if it's not going to be with them. Yeah.
While there's, I mean, he could be the centerpiece of a third baseman trade. This is all I'll say to close this segment out and this thought out, because this article was very interesting. If you guys want to go find it and read the Passan article, I'll say this, Stacey. I do think that this kind of gives a little more credence to my theory earlier on in the offseason. They may be going into spring training with these guys at third base, trying to figure the issue out from within. And they may be saying to them, our third base deadline is the trade deadline. Not necessarily the start of the season, it's the trade deadline. I don't think that's the worst strategy ever, especially for a team that's in a win now mode. Especially with a team that, let's be real, the Yankees are going to win their games, whether they have one of these three guys or someone they sign in a week playing third base. They just are. They're going to win their fair share of games. The offense is good enough. They're going to score their runs, and they're going to pitch really well. We know that's what's going to be the case. So there's not a rush to go get a middle of the order big power bat. But if they realize defense is an issue, if they realize a middle of the order contact bat is an issue, whatever it is, they can now go out and evaluate getting a third baseman that fits that mold more to what they're looking for, as opposed to getting it right now where they don't know what their issues are. So I do think it might be sort of a strategy thing where they don't love the third base market right now that's available. They don't love what's out there. The trade market has not been that active when it comes to middle to corner infielders. It really just not a lot of guys have been moving around in the trade market. So it does feel like it might be one of those things where, as opposed to years past, where the roster is formed in February by February, and we don't know what the Yankees' problems are, and we wait for the season to start, and we wait for the Yankees to show you their warts. Instead, Cashman might be waiting until June or July. Maybe he's learned a lesson from the past seasons. Maybe he's learned and he's going to wait till June or July, wait for the team to show its warts, wait to see what issues it needs to be fixed, and now he can address that at the third base position instead of having a veteran clogging up that hole. Maybe that's what it is. So if he's realizing we don't have a contact hitter in the middle of our lineup, then he goes out and goes after a certain player. We need another power bat in the middle of our lineup. He goes after a certain player. Hey, we can't field for nothing. Maybe he goes out and gets a platinum glove defender like Nolan Arenado. Who knows? But I do think that could be possibly the strategy here, is leave that position open. Hey, if one of these guys steals the job and hits 320 this year, wonderful. No guarantee that'll happen, but wonderful. I think that might be the strategy. Wait and see what you need on this roster, and then plug the hole towards June or July.
Yep. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, and hit the notification so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You'll get texts from us. You can text us questions, comments, reactions to trades, signings. We send out lineups during the season, roster moves, breaking news, so you don't have to check social media. There's a 14-day free trial. Coming up, the Yankees acquired the 11th international prospect, and we'll tell you all about him next.
Hey guys, Super Bowl 59 is finally here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. My favorite holiday of the year. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to shoving a potato skin down your throat to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that is icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you will score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel. It's an official partner of Super Bowl 59. And thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. Remember that every Friday is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions underneath our videos during the week, or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club and get top priority during Fan Mail Friday. That link is in our description. So Yankees, exciting. So Stacey, Yankees. I don't know why I said it like that, but I guess that's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of the Yankees now. Stacey, Yankees made some big news, a big splash during the international free agent market. Not really spoken about too much in the public eye, but it is big news. These are the same markets that a guy like Gleyber Torres, Yoan Moncada, big names like that are acquired through. So you do get some stars that come through the pipeline. Specifically, Manny Cedeno, who the Yankees acquired for $2.5 million, a very hefty sum of money to get as a posting fee from the Dominican Republic. He is said, if you guys aren't aware, to be a 5-tool shortstop. He's not able to be listed on the top prospect pipeline list in Major League Baseball because he's underage, Stacey. He's 16 years old. So he's not actually eligible to be listed until he's 17 in the prospect pool in Major League Baseball. He is the second youngest player in all of the baseball world that is currently signed. There is one guy that's younger than him. But, Stacey, if he were able to be listed, he would already, at 16 years old, be ranked as a top 50 prospect in all of baseball. To put that in reference, the Yankees only have one other guy currently in the top 100, and that's Spencer Jones, who's at number 75. So it's a really big deal for the Yankees to acquire a player like that. He's 16. He's going to play in the Dominican Development League next year. Specifically, he's going to play for San Pedro de Macorís, which is it's more of like a
Marquees.
Sure. I've never been there, so I didn't come out of that academy.
Pedro's from there. Like everyone from the Dominican is from, basically that's where they're from. But
I wasn't able to make that academy. They didn't want me, so that's why I'm hosting the show. But for reference, the guys that are currently in the league right now that have come out of that academy, Fernando Tatis Jr., Wandy Peralta, Ronnie Mauricio. So you've gotten a lot of really good players that have come out of this system. Again, second youngest player in all of baseball. He's compared a lot right now to Yoenis Cespedes, who is the Red Sox top tier prospect. They signed him last year, and he's jumped through the MLB pipeline really, really, really fast. So this kid's supposed to be a top 10 prospect in all of baseball when it's all said and done. He's a shortstop prospect, 5-tool player, apparently a lot of power in his bat projected. This is a big signing that you don't hear a lot about this kind of stuff until these guys are closer up to the level. But Stacey, I'm sure you remember when Gleyber Torres quickly moved up to the top-ranked prospect in all of baseball. He came from the same type of thing out of Venezuela and was a top-tier prospect and came over. Same thing, was signed in the international draft and blew through the pipeline when it came to being ready. Gleyber Torres got called up at like 19 years old. He was really, really young when he made his major league debut. So Yankees getting a player like this, I know he's 16 and he's a while away, but Jason Dominguez was the same thing. And he got called up fairly young, and you've seen what he's done early. So a lot of these players wind up contributing now at earlier ages to the major league level. This is a big signing for the Yankees.
I just can't get over the fact that he's 16, which means he was born in 2008.
Wow, that really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? Jeez.
Yeah. Ugh, good Lord.
16 years old is wild.
Huh?
16 years old is just wild.
Yeah.
To be at that level of...
Well, yeah, think about being 16 years old. You remember more than I do because you were there more recently than I was. I mean...
Yeah, I don't think I was at that level of a baseball player. The fact that, again, they have him listed talent-wise as a top 50 prospect in all of baseball if he was able to be listed. He can't be listed because of his youth. He'd be a top 50 prospect right now. That's crazy to think about.
Did we mention his name?
Manny Cedeno?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I listed in the first in the top of the headline, yeah.
Okay, so it was $2.5 million.
Mm-hmm. That was the fee. I mean, listen, these guys, the Yankees made news when they signed another prospect a couple of years ago for $1.5 million. The numbers go up and up and up more. And imagine that's why collecting this money and making these giant offers to these players is a big deal, especially when they come from impoverished countries and they're growing up in situations where they don't have a lot of money and their family doesn't have a lot of money. You throw $2.5 million at a prospect, which we make this point all the time, and we were mad they didn't give $15 million to Gleyber Torres.
Yeah.
Stacey, what is $2.5 million? Yeah, $2.5 million. Yeah, Gleyber Torres is an established player, but $2.5 million for the chance that this kid might become something, and pretty solid chance when you look at the track record of players that have come out of this academy. Stacey, is it a gamble? Sure, but these teams play around with so much money and have so much money hanging around. $2.5 million feels like a worthy investment in a player that, yeah, you don't know what he's going to become, but the track record of the academy that he's coming out of and the listing of what everybody says about him, pretty good bet in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I meant 2.5 million, like he's 16. That's amazing.
Yeah, good for him. Like, really good for him.
Yeah. Just be careful.
Even so, though, even if this kid doesn't become some major league talent and he doesn't become the next Gleyber Torres, look at what the Cubs did with Gleyber Torres, and the pick of Gleyber Torres from the Chicago Cubs perspective doesn't just fall on, hey, we got the top prospect in baseball. Yeah, he never played for the Cubs. It's upsetting. That pick won them a World Series. Getting him in that international draft pool and being the highest bidder for him and having him in their system won them a World Series because that allowed them to trade for Aroldis Chapman. So when you look at the whole grand scheme of things, this could be a kid the Yankees move next year or in 2 years when they need an elite closer at the end of the year. They don't have one in their system, and they go out and make a trade for the Aroldis Chapman of 2 years from now. Or if they need a power bat, you don't know. But going out and making these kind of deals is absolutely massive because I can guarantee you this. Now, Gleyber Torres had a nice career with the Yankees. We've discussed it obviously at length. Do you think a single Cubs fan would not make that trade over again?
Right.
Exactly. So, like, these signings mean so. You don't know what's going to come of this kid. He may become a Yankee stud for the next 20 years. We may be talking about him, when my kids are going off to college. Or I don't even have children yet, if that makes sense to anybody.
I was going to say, like, is there something you're not telling me?
That's the point. He could be in the league for that long.
Yeah.
And we could be talking about his name for that long. Or, this kid could be the part of a major trade that winds up winning the Yankees a World Series. You simply don't know. But for $2.5 million, it's a worthy gamble, especially, again, with the academy he's coming out of and the thought on him at this young of an age. It's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole international, like signing people internationally and signing them so young thing is fascinating, but also slightly frightening just because they're so young and kids can be taken advantage of, and I just want all these kids to be safe, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I don't think he's being taken advantage of because he's been given a hefty lump sum of money, but I agree with you. It's probably become I think it becomes more of a problem, to be honest, with the major league level.
Mm.
When these kids get called up at young ages, like a Ronald Acuna Jr., and their agent doesn't want them to sign a massive contract, and they wind up taking, an 8-year deal for $60 million because, hey, it's money that they've never seen before and it's generational wealth. And the Atlanta Braves have done this countless times with young players. They sign them to longer term deals for lesser salary, and the player jumps on it because he's never seen that kind of money before. Meanwhile, could you imagine if Ronald Acuna Jr. was a free agent this year? What he'd get? That's the point, right? So he signed a deal for, I think, somewhere in the range of $60 million, when meanwhile he'd be getting that maybe potentially per year next year. It's kind of, you're right, though. These guys are taking advantage of it. It's kind of sad, too.
Yeah. All right, coming up next, we discuss Max Scherzer going to the Blue Jays because Max Scherzer is going to try and play with every single team in the majors. We'll talk about that next. Of course, I'm kidding. But, I mean, how many teams has he played for? It hasn't been that many. He's not Damaso Marte, but
it might be like 8 by now, honestly, though.
Was Nationals, Tigers.
I'm gonna pull it up right now because I don't have.
Why is my brain?
You're forgetting his first team, but Arizona, when he was on that Arizona staff for a while. He was on Arizona.
He was with Arizona? Oh my God!
Yeah,
see, I don't even remember that.
That's when he got called up.
It's crazy.
Arizona, then Detroit, then Washington, then the Dodgers, then the Mets, and now Texas.
All right,
yeah, he's been on.
It's not that bad.
Of teams. And he's somehow only 39 years old.
Yeah. So he signed a 1-year deal, $15 million with the Blue Jays. Good for the Blue Jays because, for a while there, like you said at the top, some people weren't going with the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays were in on a bunch of people, and then nothing happened. But, they've gotten Santander. Now they have Scherzer, and, this offseason looks a little better than it did before they got those two guys. They also made other moves besides that, but the two big free agents that they signed,
no, I agree
Scherzer
with you.
and Santander.
$15 million does seem like a lot of money for a 39-year-old, but hey, it gives them a guy at the top of their rotation that can, is going to give them starts. He is more of a bulldog. We'll see how long he stays healthy at 39 years old.
Yeah,
but he's a warrior out there. Maybe he'll give an attitude change for this clubhouse, right? And kind of teach him how to win, because this is a team, remember, Stacey, that up until 2 years ago, everybody was talking about they're ready to take that next step. They're ready to take that jump. And then last year they had a dreadful season. You're hearing about trading guys. Will they be able to re-sign Vlad? I mean, who knows? There's a lot of stuff out there on this team. So when you look at what their future looks like, hey, maybe a $15 million investment on Max Scherzer means more than what he's necessarily going to do on the field, but more about what he's going to do off the field. He's going to teach these guys what it's like to win, what it's like to be professional with a lot of youth in this organization. So maybe it's got more to do with that. Also, I think there's a key to these moves too, and I don't know why more teams don't do this. For a team with a lesser farm system, if the Blue Jays fall out of it by June or July, this signing could result in, what if the Blue Jays are out of it, but Max Scherzer has fantastic numbers through the first 2 months of the season? A contender would want him. A contender would want to have him come in and heck, what if the Yankees have a few injuries? Wouldn't they want him? Now, I'm not saying the Blue Jays would trade him to the Yankees, but a contender would want him. Why not make the $15 million signing to be able to acquire great prospects down the road because someone wants Max Scherzer for half a season? You don't know what it's going to look like later on, so I don't know why more teams don't do this with veteran players. But for the Blue Jays, I don't hate the signing at all. I think it's a fine deal.
Yeah.
I didn't want it for the Yankees. Then there's a lot of teams it didn't work for. But for the Blue Jays, why not? Now, I think $15 million, though, seems like a high number for a guy that we were watching, in Florida last week to see how he looked. There were scouts showing up to see how he looked in Florida last week. And now you're giving, and did he look that good that he got $15 million a year?
Well, it's interesting because he got 15 and Verlander got 15.5, right? For the 1 year that he got with the Giants.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
For guys that you don't know what to expect coming in. And clearly the markets weren't huge for them. because there wasn't much motivation. Contenders weren't necessarily after these guys. I don't think the Giants are necessarily a contender. The Blue Jays aren't looked at as one. So contenders weren't after these guys. It wasn't clear. Their markets must have not been huge, and they still got $15 million. That's a lot of money for two, aging pitchers. I mean, they certainly great in their primes, Hall of Famers without a doubt. But aging pitchers, we'll see what it means. Again, the Giants could be after that too, hoping that Verlander has a superstar April and May, and then look to trade him in June to get something back for him. You don't know what the motivation is a lot of the time, so we'll certainly see. I don't think it's crazy though. But for a move for the Blue Jays, like you've said it at the start of the segment, Stacey, they started this offseason begging essentially the rest of the league to take their money, and no one will. No one will.
Yeah. I found the Verlander signing kind of strange, just because of when it happened and how quickly it happened, and that he didn't really wait around. But I guess maybe he knew that no one else was going to try and get him, and he just really wanted to pitch, so he decided to go with I thought that was when that came up, I thought to myself, oh, that's an odd pairing. Like, at least with the Blue Jays and Scherzer, I don't know. I feel like it makes more sense for some reason, but the Verlander Giants thing just felt really strange to me.
I feel
don't know
like
why.
I expected that deal personally, the Verlander deal, more out of the Astros. It would have made more sense if the Astros brought him in at that price tag. He's familiar with the situation. He wants to be there. That would have made more sense to me.
But clearly, the Astros are
not spending at all. No willingness to spend a penny this offseason, which is so strange.
Yeah.
It just feels like a weird move to bring him into San Francisco. They're not. I don't think they're planning on winning. Again, maybe him and Logan Webb can learn something off of Verlander.
True.
Learn how to be an ace in a clubhouse. Like, there is value to that kind of stuff, but I don't look at the Verlander signing as this big splash move that the Giants were after. It just feels like, I guess it's not that hard to convince a guy to play in Northern California. That's got to be pretty easy to do, but it didn't seem like that was going to be a move Verlander made. Hey, I mean, he's played for a ton of teams now too, by the way.
Well, here's we spoke about this. Ambitious Monk says Verlander will be traded to the Orioles mid-year because they have orange in their jerseys. Remember, we joked about how every team he's played for has orange on their jerseys. The Mets, the Tigers, the Astros, now the Giants.
Is there another one left after the Orioles? I don't think so.
I'm trying to think.
I mean, the Marlins, I think, have like a tint of it in their color.
Yeah.
Like a little bit.
Yeah, they have a little bit of orange there. Yeah. But other than
I don't think anybody else.
Yeah, I don't think so. No, it's mostly reds, purples, blues.
Yeah, so make them. That would be a move the Orioles could picture them making for sure. Especially if the Giants fall out of it, that would make a lot of sense for them. Seeing that they didn't want to bring back their own superstar, you'd think they're they'd probably bring in. They're gonna have to bring in a pitcher at some point.
Speaking of pitchers and speaking of the Giants, they broke up the twins. One of the Rogers twins went to the Reds. I think Taylor. Right? It's Taylor and Tyler.
Yes.
That's not confusing. I do love that one's a lefty and one's a righty, though. I think that's the funniest thing. I actually showed that to my mom during a game because they were warming up in the bullpen next to each other. I said, Ma, look. And she's like, why are their names the same? I'm like, they're twins. She said, get out. She couldn't believe. I said, yeah, no, they're twins. One's lefty, one's righty, one's Tyler, one's Taylor. She was like blown away by that. I think that's amazing, right?
Yeah. No, it's
but now they're broken up.
You've seen it in some sports, but that's a wild one. We're gonna see what goes on this. The trade deadline this year is going to be interesting because there's not a lot of teams that I anticipate not a lot of top tier teams in the league have made a lot of big moves. It's really just been the Yankees and the Dodgers that have really gone after each other. So I think a lot of teams are going to be trying to make moves June and July. It could make things very interesting.
I agree. I'm just looking at some of the comments. I think I just got a weather alert on my Amazon. I shouldn't say the name out loud because it'll start talking. I agree with this, Jared. We spoke about that on yesterday's show. What's the delay? Just sign Tim Hill. What are we doing?
I want to disagree with someone on here.
Okay.
And Donnie Clark, who has been putting messages in. He was commenting on Craig's post saying that Hal is being cheap this offseason. I couldn't disagree more. And he cites it with this one, where he says, if George was alive, things would be a lot different because Soto would still be a Yankee. I disagree with you. I just do. I don't. George Steinbrenner had a lot of money. I'm not disagreeing with you. The Steinbrenners, since George has passed, have tripled their value as a family since George has passed away. Money is not the problem for Hal Steinbrenner. So, I'm sure George Steinbrenner would be worth just as much money and would have tripled his net worth in that time too since he's passed away. I'm not arguing that. What I'm arguing, Stacey, is I don't think Steve Cohen was being outbid.
No,
and
I don't think so either.
Steve Cohen is worth, if we think the Steinbrenners are rich, Steve Cohen is worth tens of billions of more dollars than the Steinbrenners are worth.
Yeah, the Steinbrenners are worth like 7-8 billion, and Steve Cohen by himself is worth like 21 billion.
Yes.
That's 100 million. A billion is 100 million. So how many more is 21 than 7? That's a lot.
Yes. So a billion is 10 100 millions, by the way.
Not
that's 100. It's 10 100 million. So think about that.
Yeah.
He was, and again, I believe this wholeheartedly. Steve Cohen was not being outbid. It didn't matter whether it was George Steinbrenner from now, the past, the 70s. It didn't matter. And Soto was proven to you. He was always going to the highest bidder. So I don't think it made a difference whether George Steinbrenner was alive or not. I don't. I think Soto was always at any point going to be Steve. The only way is if Steve Cohen didn't buy the Mets. That's it.
Yeah.
But he was always going to the highest bidder. And whether George was here or gone, he was not going to be able to outbid Steve Cohen. He just wasn't. Unless he was going to be willing to give Juan Soto a portion of the ownership of the Yankee franchise. That was not going to happen. So I can't disagree more. I don't think this is the year to get on Hal Steinbrenner for not spending or for the kind of ownership team that he has. I just don't.
Yeah. Because, I mean, obviously he hasn't been cheap. There are some big deals on the team. It's just the way they're spending the money, but that's also a Cashman issue with the guys that they get, and they just have to figure out what they're doing. I'm just sick of him bitching and moaning about the Dodgers spending, because he could do the same thing. You could get some
I agree.
contracts and defer some money. What are you doing? Other teams are doing it. Just do it.
And here's the thing, like, Stacey, I'll let you answer to this one, but if George offered $800 million, Soto would have signed in a luxury suite. But Stacey, if George offered $800 million, do you think that Cohen wasn't going to offer $900 or $850? He was going to. That's still not. It doesn't matter. You've said this when the signing happened, and I couldn't agree more. And it's been the sentiment that I've given every single stranger that's talking about the Soto signing. If Hal, at a certain point, it had to stop. If Hal went to 1.2 billion, Cohen was going to 1.3. And if Hal went to 1.4, Cohen was going. He wasn't being outbid. It doesn't matter. And saying that the Yankees are, because he gave me this comment too. The Yankees are number 4 in the Forbes list. Doesn't matter, okay? Juan Soto wasn't signing with Manchester United, so it takes all those other rankings out of it. And it doesn't matter what ranking they are when it comes to worth. That's what the team is worth. That's what the franchise is worth. It's not how of course he can spend more money, but he was going to get outbid anyway.
I said he could. I didn't say he couldn't. I said he has. It's just the way he's doing it.
And the Forbes listing, Stacey, what are the teams that are worth more than the New York Yankees? It's like Bayern Munich, it's like Manchester United and the Dallas Cowboys. That's it. And he wasn't signing with 2 soccer teams or an NFL team, so that was the only option. What Hal Steinbrenner is worth is not tied to what the Yankees Forbes listing is. What the Yankees Forbes listing is what they're worth as an organization. That has zero to do with Hal Steinbrenner's net worth. He just owns the Yankees. It doesn't have anything to do with his net worth. That's just a property that he owns. It's like if you own a house that's worth $2 million, it doesn't mean that you're worth $2 million because you still own the house. You didn't sell that house. So Hal Steinbrenner doesn't have that $8 billion the Yankees are valued at because he owns it. Until he sells it, he doesn't have that team. So he can't give Juan Soto a portion of the ownership of the team. I'm sure he could. Is he going to? Of course not. Steve Cohen, again, like you reiterated, is worth more than double what Hal Steinbrenner is worth. So as high of that money is coming out of Hal Steinbrenner's purse. So as high of a value as you think Hal Steinbrenner could have wiped out the entire Steinbrenner fortune just to pay Juan Soto $8 billion. Steve Cohen still could have outbid him and still been worth $12 billion.
Right.
So he was going to outbid him at every mark. It doesn't matter what it was. So
Yeah.
no, I disagree. I'm not trying to make excuses for Juan Soto. I wanted him to be a Yankee and he still took all the money. But Stacey, you cannot call Hal cheap for this one. He was getting outbid no matter how high he went.
Yeah. Yep. And ambitious monk. Issue is not Hal and his spending. It's Aaron Boone putting Nestor against Shohei when he hadn't pitched in a month.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that one.
I joke about this all the time. I'm 50 now. If I live to be 95 and I'm in a nursing home, I will be ranting about game 1 of the 2024 World Series. If I still have all my marbles, I will be mumbling in my room about Aaron Boone and Nestor Cortez.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt. That one's gonna hurt for a while. Hopefully we've made our fortune by then and we're not recording Locked On Yankees from a nursing home at that point. But it's gonna be a tough one.
Celebrating my like 50th anniversary with Locked On.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
That'd be amazing. Craig M says, I will be there with you. Cool. We'll hang out. Hopefully, Craig M, if you're close to my age, hopefully they'll turn old shopping malls into Gen X nursing homes. And then we'll have like a food court and cool stuff. Because why don't they do that? They should do that. Like all these abandoned malls all over the country should be turned into nursing homes for my generation. Because we're the ones who spent the most time there.
Hey, yeah. I mean, no one's going to shopping malls anymore. So might as well use them for something, right?
Yeah. All right. We got to end the show. Thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, you can find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. You can find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you are watching this right now and you want to leave a Fan Mail Friday question, do it right under this video on YouTube. Just say Fan Mail Friday, ask your question, ask anything, please. We would love for you guys to do that. So that'll do it for this live edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gatsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.